The day began like any other on Eli Thompson's remote ranch, tucked far from the nearest town. The wind whispered across the snow-laden plains, but by afternoon the weather turned vicious. A sudden blizzard rolled in from the north, sending icy gusts tearing through the landscape. Eli, a quiet and reserved man known for his skill with livestock but not with people, was tending to his cattle when he noticed something unusual, a faint movement in the white expanse, a shadow almost lost in the swirling snow. Curiosity and annoying concern pulled him closer. Squinting through the driving snow, Eli saw two small figures, hunched and shivering, struggling against the wind. They were girls, no more than 10 or 12, their thin clothing offering little protection from the blizzard. Panic struck Eli's heart. If he didn't act quickly, they wouldn't survive the night. Despite his usual hesitation around strangers, he felt an instinctive pull to help them. He wrapped himself in his thick coat, grabbed a rope, and braved the snowstorm. Every step was a battle against the wind and biting cold, his boots sinking into the soft drifts. As he reached the twins, he noticed their wide, fearful eyes peering up at him. They didn't speak, only shivered violently. Gently, he coaxed them to stand, supporting them through the knee-deep snow. With careful steps, he guided them back toward the warmth of his cabin, their small hands clutching his gloved fingers, trembling and numb. Inside the cabin, the girls collapsed near the fire, finally letting the warmth seep into their frozen limbs. Eli wrapped them in blankets and gave them steaming mugs of broth, speaking softly to calm their fear. Though they remained silent, their eyes followed him with a mixture of suspicion and relief. Eli didn't know their names or where they came from, only that they were in grave danger and needed protection. Outside, the blizzard continued to rage, but inside the cabin, a fragile sense of safety took hold. Eli realized that this night would change everything. The quiet rancher who had spent his life in solitude had become the guardian of these mysterious children. He had no idea that these fragile twins were the daughters of a powerful Apache chief, their lives intricately tied to a world far beyond his ranch. For now, all that mattered was keeping them alive through the storm and earning their trust, one small, careful act of kindness at a time. The blizzard showed no sign of relenting, howling like a wild beast around Eli's isolated cabin. Inside, the warmth from the crackling fire seemed almost magical against the cold and danger outside. The twins, Naya and Sita, huddled under thick blankets Eli had thrown over them, their small bodies trembling not only from the cold but also from fear and exhaustion. They had never encountered a stranger like Eli, a quiet, gentle man whose calm presence contrasted sharply with the harshness of the storm outside. Eli moved carefully, aware that any sudden action could frighten them further. He fed them warm broth and offered bits of bread, encouraging them to eat. At first they hesitated, glancing at him with wide, uncertain eyes. Their silence was heavy, but Eli respected it, understanding that trust could not be rushed. He quietly fetched extra blankets, added more wood to the fire, and even set up a small cot so they could rest comfortably. Every small gesture was deliberate, a way to communicate safety without words. As the hours passed, the twins began to relax slightly, inching closer to the warmth of the fire and, slowly, to Eli himself. He talked softly about mundane things, his cattle, the endless plains, the coming winter, careful to avoid overwhelming them. In his gentle voice, they began to sense that he meant no harm, that his only concern was keeping them alive. The fear that had gripped them in the snow began to melt, replaced by a cautious curiosity. Outside, the storm raged on, a white curtain that seemed impenetrable. Yet within the cabin, a fragile bond began forming. Eli, who had spent his life in solitude, realized the profound responsibility he now bore. These girls, lost and vulnerable, had been entrusted to his care by circumstance, and he would not fail them. The twins' wary glances began to soften. Small gestures, like letting him brush snow from their hair or handing them a warm cup of tea, became tiny steps toward trust. By nightfall, Eli knew the storm had more than just snow in store. It had brought change. The twins were no longer mere strangers in the snow. They were lives now intertwined with his own. Though he did not yet know their true identity as daughters of a powerful Apache chief, he felt an unspoken promise forming in the flickering firelight. He would protect them, no matter the cost. The blizzard had finally begun to lose some of its fury, though the wind still whistled across the plains. Inside Eli Thompson's cabin, the atmosphere had shifted. The initial fear in Naya and Sita's eyes was slowly being replaced by a cautious curiosity. They no longer shivered constantly. They were beginning to relax, sensing the quiet reliability of the shy rancher who had risked his safety to rescue them. Eli, for his part, was learning to read their subtle expressions, the way Naya's fingers twitched when she was nervous, or the way Sita's gaze lingered on him when she felt comforted. By evening, the girls began speaking in soft, hesitant whispers. They told Eli small fragments of their lives, where they had been before the blizzard, the animals they liked, and the harsh cold they had endured on their journey. Yet carefully they omitted any mention of their true identities. They did not speak of Chief Wolf, the powerful Apache leader, nor of the responsibilities and dangers tied to their lineage. Their silence was protective, a shield against the unknown. Eli listened attentively, offering gentle encouragement. He asked questions about their lives and gently shared small stories from his own solitary existence, creating a bridge of mutual understanding. The twins began to respond with trust, if only in tiny increments. A smile at a simple joke, a hand hesitantly brushing against his as he handed them a cup of warm tea, a willingness to sit closer to the fire. With each small act, the invisible barrier between rescuer and rescued began to erode. Outside, the world remained treacherous, but inside the cabin, a fragile sanctuary had formed. Eli felt a mixture of awe and worry. He did not know who these girls were, or the larger forces that might soon search for them. Yet he sensed that whatever lay ahead, these children would rely on him. His determination to protect them solidified into a quiet resolve. As night settled in, Eli kept watch by the fire, his eyes shifting between the twins and the doorway, alert to any sound in the darkness. The girls slept fitfully but peacefully under his care, their small breaths rhythmic in the warm cabin. Little did Eli know, the girls he was nurturing and defending were not merely lost children, they were daughters of a mighty Apache chief. The revelation of their true identity, when it came, would change everything. For now, he focused on the simple, immediate mission, keeping them safe through the long night. The following morning, the blizzard had finally passed, leaving the plains blanketed in pristine white. Eli Thompson had spent the night listening to the wind and watching over the twins, ensuring they slept safely and warmed by the fire. Just as he began to feel a fragile sense of routine, a new sound broke the silence, the low thrum of hooves crunching through the snow. Instinctively, Eli stepped outside, squinting against the bright reflection of the sun on the white plains. A small group of riders approached, their movements purposeful and controlled. Leading them was a tall, imposing figure clad in traditional Apache attire, Chief Wolf, a man whose reputation for strength and leadership was known across the region. His eyes, sharp and searching, scanned the landscape until they settled on Eli and the cabin. Recognition and relief flickered in his expression, but it was tempered by caution. Eli, a humble and shy rancher, had no idea who he was about to meet, and the tension was immediately palpable. The chief dismounted, his presence commanding yet measured. His warriors remained a respectful distance behind, silently observing the scene. Eli, heart-pounding, greeted him cautiously, unsure how to explain the girls or his sudden role in their lives. Naya and Sita, sensing the authority and power radiating from the chief, instinctively moved closer to Eli, their protector. Their fear of the unknown was mirrored by Eli's own nervousness. He had never faced a man of such influence, nor had he anticipated meeting the twins' father. Chief Wolf's voice, calm yet firm, carried across the snow-laden yard. He inquired about the twins, his eyes locking on Eli's with a mixture of intensity and expectation. Eli explained simply that he had found the girls lost and freezing in the blizzard and had brought them to his cabin to keep them safe. He said nothing of their true identity, for he did not yet know it. A tense silence followed. The twins, watching both men closely, were torn between their loyalty to Eli, who had sheltered and protected them, and their natural reverence and love for their father. Chief Wolf's gaze softened slightly as he observed Eli's sincerity, though his caution remained. Respect and tension intertwined in the cold morning air, a delicate balance that would determine how the next days unfolded. In that moment, Eli realized that the storm outside was nothing compared to the challenge now before him, navigating trust, authority, and the lives of the twins he had sworn to protect. The arrival of Chief Running Wolf marked the beginning of a new, complex chapter, one that would test courage, wisdom, and compassion in ways he had never imagined. After the initial tension of Chief Running Wolf's arrival, a fragile understanding began to take shape between him and Eli. The shy rancher had proven his courage by rescuing the twins from the deadly blizzard, but the chief's trust would not come easily. Eli knew that words alone would not be enough. He had to show through actions that his intentions were honorable and that he respected both the girls and their heritage. Eli began by assisting with simple tasks requested by the chief. He helped mend the girls' tattered clothing, carefully sewing layers of wool and fabric to protect them from the lingering cold. He gathered firewood and hunted small game, ensuring the cabin was stocked with enough provisions for the twins and the chief's accompanying warriors. Each task, performed with quiet diligence, demonstrated his reliability. He treated the girls with patience and kindness, speaking gently and respecting their space, never forcing them to reveal more than they were ready to share. The twins, Naya and Sita, slowly began to relax in Eli's presence, their initial wariness giving way to cautious curiosity. They laughed quietly when he made small jokes, and they began to respond to his questions about their likes and fears. Eli recognized these small signs of trust as victories, knowing that patience and consistency were his greatest tools. He began teaching them practical skills for surviving the cold, such as identifying edible plants and preserving firewood, blending his knowledge of the plains with respect for their own traditions. Chief Running Wolf observed silently, his piercing eyes studying Eli's every move. At first he remained reserved, skeptical of this outsider's intentions. Yet, as he saw Eli work tirelessly without seeking recognition or reward, his attitude began to shift. Eli's quiet respect for the twins, combined with his willingness to follow the chief's guidance without question, proved that he was more than a simple rancher. He was someone worthy of trust. By the end of several days, a tentative bond had formed between Eli and the chief. The twins, now more confident and playful, moved freely between the two men, bridging the gap between the rancher and the chief. Chief Running Wolf finally spoke words of cautious approval, acknowledging Eli's selflessness and the protection he had offered. In these quiet moments, a foundation was laid not only for the safety of the twins, but for a lasting alliance between Eli and Chief Running Wolf. Trust had been earned, but Eli understood that the true test of courage and loyalty was yet to come. Threats from outsiders loomed on the horizon, and the bonds he had built would soon be put to the ultimate trial. Peace in the snowy plains was fragile. Rumors of the twins' whereabouts had begun to circulate beyond the ranch and the Apache camp, reaching the ears of unscrupulous outsiders, who saw opportunity in exploiting the daughters of Chief Running Wolf for profit or leverage. Eli, who had spent his life managing cattle and weathering storms, realized quickly that the danger these men posed was far greater than anything he had faced before. For the first time, he understood that his quiet, protective life had become entangled with forces beyond his control. Eli shared his concerns with the chief. The two men, once cautious and wary of one another, now found common ground in the need to protect the twins. Plans were discussed in hushed tones near the warmth of the cabin fire. They mapped escape routes across the snow-laden plains, identified natural barriers that could hinder intruders, and prepared for any confrontation that might come. Every detail mattered. Failure could mean disaster for the girls. The twins, sensing the rising tension, huddled together by the fire. Naya and Sita were brave but still children, their trust in Eli and their father a delicate shield against fear. Eli reassured them with quiet words and small gestures, showing them how to stay safe and stay hidden if necessary. For the first time, he witnessed their resourcefulness and resilience, qualities that hinted at their noble heritage and survival instincts. As the sun dipped low behind the icy horizon, the first signs of the outsiders appeared: distant figures moving cautiously across the snow, attempting to approach without alerting the girls. Eli and the chief positioned themselves strategically. Blending the rancher's knowledge of the terrain with the chief's tactical wisdom, their alliance was no longer theoretical. It was active and urgent. When the outsiders drew closer, Eli's courage came to the forefront. He used his intimate knowledge of the land to create distractions, guiding the intruders away from the cabin while Chief Running Wolf prepared to protect the twins directly. Each movement required precision, calm nerves, and absolute trust between the two men. By nightfall, the threat had not yet been fully confronted, but the groundwork had been laid. Eli realized that protecting the girls would demand more than kindness and patience. It would require courage, strategy, and unwavering resolve. The stakes were higher than ever, and the snowy plains were about to become a proving ground for loyalty, bravery, and the bond that had formed between a shy rancher and a powerful Apache chief. The tension that had been building across the snowy plains erupted as the outsiders finally reached the vicinity of Eli's cabin. Eli, standing alongside Chief Running Wolf, felt a surge of determination. This was no longer about caution or trust building. It was a test of courage, skill, and loyalty. The twins, though young, sensed the danger and stayed close to their protectors, their wide eyes reflecting both fear and bravery. Eli quickly assessed the terrain, using his intimate knowledge of the land to his advantage. Snowdrifts, frozen ridges, and hidden gullies became tools of defense. With quiet signals, he coordinated with Chief Running Wolf, who commanded his warriors with precision, moving to intercept any intruders. Despite Eli's natural shyness, his resolve shone through. He could not allow harm to come to the girls who had become so dear to him in such a short time. The outsiders pressed forward, unaware of the traps and distractions set by the duo. Eli lured them into misleading paths, causing them to stumble and lose their bearings in the blizzard-scarred plains. Meanwhile, Chief Running Wolf's warriors surrounded the area, ensuring that the twins remained secure. The girls, though frightened, demonstrated remarkable courage, following the careful instructions Eli had taught them to stay hidden and safe. When one of the intruders came dangerously close to the cabin, Eli acted decisively, confronting the threat with a combination of clever tactics and raw bravery. His actions, coordinated with the chief's warriors, turned the tide. Each move was precise. Each decision carried the weight of responsibility for the girls' lives. The battle was swift but intense, showcasing not just physical skill but strategic thinking and courage under pressure. By nightfall, the threat was neutralized. The outsiders were forced to retreat, defeated by the combination of Eli's knowledge, the chief's authority, and the twins' resilience. Relief washed over the cabin as the girls emerged from their hiding spot, unscathed and more confident than before. They hugged Eli, their gratitude unspoken but deeply felt. Chief Running Wolf, observing Eli's bravery and dedication, nodded with approval. Respect and trust had grown into something solid and undeniable. The twins were safe, and bonds had been strengthened not just between father and daughters, but also between Eli and the chief. The blizzard that had brought them together had also forged a partnership capable of facing any danger, proving that courage and loyalty can unite even the most unlikely allies. With the danger behind them, a calm settled over the snowy plains. The blizzard that had first brought Nea and Sita into Eli's care now felt like a distant memory, replaced by warmth, safety, and a sense of family that had grown in the harshest of circumstances. The twins, once fearful and fragile, were now confident and playful, their laughter echoing through the cabin as they explored every corner of the home that had become their sanctuary. Chief Running Wolf, standing tall and proud, approached Eli with a mix of gratitude and respect. He acknowledged the rancher's courage, patience, and unwavering protection of his daughters. Words were exchanged, each one heavy with significance, a promise of friendship, a bond forged through trials. For Eli, the acknowledgement was profound. The shy rancher who had once lived in quiet solitude now found himself honored by a man of immense power and wisdom. The twins, sensing the approval of their father, embraced Eli warmly, showing their trust and affection. Naya and Sita's journey from frightened, lost children to resilient, joyful girls had been guided by Eli's steady hand and kind heart. They had witnessed bravery in action, and the bond between rescuer and rescued had grown unbreakable. Eli, too, realized that the experience had changed him. He was no longer the solitary man of the ranch, but a protector and friend to a family that spanned cultures and worlds. In the days that followed, Eli and Chief Running Wolf worked together to integrate the rancher's life with the Apache community, creating a network of support and friendship. The twins flourished in this new environment, learning both the traditions of their people and the practical skills of the plains from Eli. The ranch, once a quiet and lonely place, became a home filled with laughter, respect, and the warmth of shared purpose. As winter turned to spring, Eli stood outside the cabin, watching Naya and Sita run across the snow-melted fields with Chief Running Wolf. The journey that began with a chance rescue during a blizzard had grown into something far greater, a story of trust, courage, and the unexpected ways lives can intersect. Eli's shyness and solitude were replaced with confidence and a sense of belonging. The story closes on a note of hope and unity. A shy rancher, once alone in the world, had saved the daughters of a mighty chief, and in doing so found friendship, respect, and a family that would endure for years to come. In the wake of the storm, new beginnings had blossomed, proving that even the harshest winters can lead to warmth, love, and lasting connections.